Mark and Emily were the perfect couple, or so everyone thought. They had been married for 5 years, lived in a charming suburban house, and seemed to have it all. Mark, a software engineer, was a logical and steady man. Emily, a freelance graphic designer, was creative and spontaneous. They balanced each other out, or so Mark believed. But lately, something felt off. A subtle shift in the atmosphere of their home, a coolness that had crept in when he wasn't looking. It started with small things. Emily became more attached to her phone, guarding it like a secret treasure. She'd smile at texts and quickly put the phone away when Mark entered the room. When he asked who she was texting, she'd wave it off. "Oh, just a client, or it's just Sarah from yoga." Her work hours became unpredictable. Late nights at the studio, weekend projects that she never seemed to discuss in detail. Mark tried to ignore the growing unease in his gut. He loved Emily, and trust was the foundation of their marriage. He told himself he was being paranoid, overthinking things. The signs kept piling up. One evening, Emily came home smelling faintly of a men's cologne he didn't recognize. When he hugged her, she seemed to stiffen for a moment before relaxing into his embrace. He asked her about her day, and her story was vague, full of holes. She said she'd grabbed a late dinner with a new client, but she couldn't remember the name of the restaurant. Mark's internal alarm bells were ringing louder now. He felt a knot of dread forming in his stomach, a feeling he couldn't shake. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Mark had left work early, hoping to surprise Emily with her favorite takeout. He walked into their quiet house, calling her name. No answer. He noticed her car was in the driveway, which was strange. She was supposed to be at a networking event across town. A cold fear gripped him as he walked through the house. Everything seemed normal until he reached their bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open, and his world came crashing down. Emily wasn't alone. On their bed, the bed they had shared for 5 years, was Emily with another man. The shock was so profound, it felt like a physical blow. The air was sucked from his lungs. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The takeout bag slipped from his hand, scattering food across the hallway floor. The noise made them jump. Emily's eyes widened in horror when she saw him. "Mark, it's not what it looks like," she stammered, scrambling to cover herself. But it was exactly what it looked like. The betrayal was so raw, so absolute, it was undeniable. The man with her, a stranger with a panicked look on his face, quickly gathered his clothes and fled past Mark without a word. Mark just stood there, frozen, staring at the woman he thought he knew. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by Emily's frantic apologies and excuses. But Mark wasn't listening. The words were just noise, meaningless sounds in the face of the devastating truth. He finally found his voice, a hollow, broken whisper. "How could you?" The question hung in the air, heavy with pain. Emily started crying, saying it was a mistake, that she loved him, that it meant nothing. But her words were like salt in a gaping wound. How could this mean nothing? This was their home, their sanctuary, their life together, and she had shattered it all. In the days that followed, Mark moved in a daze. He stayed at a friend's house, unable to bear being in the home that was now tainted by deceit. Every corner held a memory that was now spoiled. The laughter, the shared dreams, the promises they made, it all felt like a lie. He replayed the scene in his head over and over, each time a fresh wave of pain washing over him. The little signs he had ignored now seemed like giant flashing red lights. Her secretive texts, the late nights, the vague explanations. He had wanted to trust her so badly that he had blinded himself to the truth. He tried to understand why. He went over their marriage, searching for a reason, a clue to what went wrong. Had he not been a good husband? Had he been too busy with work? He questioned everything. Emily bombarded him with calls and texts, begging for forgiveness, pleading for another chance. She said she had been feeling lonely and neglected, and that this other man, a colleague, had given her the attention she was missing. Her explanation didn't offer comfort. It only added insult to injury. Instead of talking to him, her husband, about her feelings, she had sought comfort in another man's arms. The foundation of their relationship wasn't just cracked, it was completely destroyed. Trust, once broken, is an incredibly difficult thing to rebuild. It's like trying to glue a shattered mirror back together. The cracks will always be visible. Mark met with Emily one last time in a neutral space, a coffee shop downtown. She looked tired and remorseful. She cried and repeated her apologies. She promised it would never happen again. Mark listened patiently, his heart a heavy stone in his chest. He looked at the woman across from him, the woman he had vowed to love and cherish, and he saw a stranger. The love he once felt was overshadowed by a profound sense of sadness and betrayal. He told her, calmly and with a finality that surprised even himself, that it was over. He couldn't live with the constant doubt, the suspicion that would forever linger between them. Couldn't unsee what he had seen. Deserved to be with someone who respected him, someone he could trust completely. And he needed to learn to trust himself again. His intuition, his gut feeling, had been right all along. He had ignored it for too long, but now he had to listen. Walking away from the coffee shop, Mark felt a strange mix of devastation and relief. The future was uncertain and scary, a blank canvas where a beautiful picture had once been. But it was also a chance to start over, to heal, and to build a new life based on honesty and self-respect. The pain was immense, but for the first time in a long time, he felt a flicker of hope. The path ahead would be long and difficult, but he knew he had made the right decision. He had chosen himself, it followed his hunch, and while it led him to a heartbreaking discovery, it also set him free.